there, I'm Athea Davis, and I will be guiding you through this module, Introduction to Mindful Movement and Yoga. And welcome to our mindfulness-based SEL micro-credential program with the Coalition of Schools Educating Mindfully. One of my favorites because I believe movement is medicine. It is the thing that will help us gain focus, confidence, resilience, all the things. So let's dive right in today. Several things that you're going to walk away with after engaging with this module. You're going to be able to describe the benefits of mindful movement and yoga on the mind, body, and heart for you as the educator and for your students. Mainly, three main things here is that it helps you reduce stress, helps you focus, and builds resilience. We'll get into that in just a moment. You will also be able to identify how body posture and language can impact your mindset and overall confidence and well-being. Triple dose of that for sure. And the last two things that you're going to be able to do as you engage with this module are describe the benefits of how moving your body can help you grow your mind, particularly helping students memorize, retain, and integrate material. So key in such a distracted time that we live in. And identify best practices for applying yoga and mindfulness in your classroom. So let's get started with the first one. The benefits of yoga and mindfulness. You may have heard what the benefits are. You may have friends and students that are trying to get you in and saying, yes, let's do some yoga and mindfulness. It's going to help you get into your calm zone. Here are the three main things that yoga and mindfulness will do. And let me set the foundation first, because when we're feeling stress and tension, we typically feel it in one of two ways. Number one, we'll feel it in our mind by either having negative thought patterns or intense emotional reactions. You might notice that you or your students are more in an emotional reactive state. That's number one, that there's some underlying tension and stress occurring. Our mind's not always aware that that's happening, but we can get those signals that those are occurring, and yoga and mindfulness will help us identify them and release them. You could also feel tension and stress in your body, in your muscles, in the way that your body posture is composed. So some signals might be that you're tightening your jaw a lot, you're clenching, your fists are tightening a lot, you notice tension in your shoulders, muscle tension in your hips, anywhere else in the body. For all of us, it's different. Though I might have said some things that you think, oh yeah, I definitely feel stress in those areas of my body. That is a signal that we need to do something, meaning release it. And putting our body in these funny little shapes called yoga can help us release the tension out of our body, because once we do that, we release the tension out of our mind. Now, what happens when we notice we just have tension in the mind and in our thoughts? Our thoughts or our emotions, rather. Well, we use mindful breathing techniques and yoga and the postures to also release tension out of our mind, out of our emotions. So it also helps us increase our focus. In such a distracted world, we're on our devices a lot, and so we really have to train our focus skill, and yoga and mindfulness helps us do that because we practice noticing, and noticing is a skill of attention. And when we navigate doing mindful breathing and yoga postures, and we see, you know what, this is kind of uncomfortable, sitting in this pose or doing this pose or trying to do this breath because my mind wants to go here, there, and everywhere, we see that we can adapt, and that in and of itself builds resilience. We become more aware, more reflective, and see how what we do in a yoga pose or a mindful breathing tool, that if we can do that and we didn't think we could do it before, we can take what we did in the practice and apply it to a project in school, to a hard conversation, and say, you know what, if I can do this thing that I didn't think I could do, I can definitely do that in this conversation. We call that yoga off the mat. So I know we want some practical things, and we're going to get there. You're gonna love this one because body posture, language, and mindset are everything. So much of our communication is not from what we're saying, it's how we're saying it and how our body is showing up in a conversation. So if I came to you and I was teaching and I was all hunched over and I was talking like this and I said, let's get to these body postures, they're really going to be helpful, that wouldn't be very exciting to you. So you can then begin to see, and as an educator, how we deliver the message is so important. The content is definitely important. How we're delivering it. So our postures are saying a lot about our emotional state, our mental state, and how we're doing physically. Now, if you haven't watched the Mindful Check-in in Spaces, you definitely want to watch that module, or when you get to it, you will have some practical tips to help you understand how to check in so you know how to be your best self. Power postures, as my friend here in this picture, holding his hands up, holding our arms out. These small things that we can do with our body can shift how we feel inside, mentally, emotionally, and physically, as well as having that positive self-talk and being intentional with our actions. Using our affirmations, saying we can do this, I've got this during hard moments. I talk to myself a lot. It definitely works, and it's backed by science. Positive self-talk makes a difference in how we show up in the classroom, on our projects and conversations. Now, intention, let me define that for just a moment, is desire plus will equals the result that you want. So knowing what we want and putting it into action. I want to get a B because I've been getting a C in math or reading or writing. It's been really difficult. And those challenges are great. That's okay that we're struggling, right? So there's room for growth. So what is it that we desire? I want to get an 80. I want to get an 85, or whatever number grade it is that you're working for, or you want to improve in a certain skill, or your students are trying to improve on a certain skill, or engage in a difficult conversation with a classmate or a colleague. Define what your intention is. What do you want? And then put it into action. You don't feel confident? I'm going to show you a body posture to help you feel confident and say things to put you in a confident zone. And of course, mindset is everything. Those are your thoughts, the things that you're thinking, your beliefs. Beliefs could be things that you grew up believing, parents taught you, the culture in your school. Those are the things that many times we're unconscious of. And mindfulness and yoga, because it's a practice of noticing what's happening on the inside, can make us become aware of those scripts that are operating underneath the surface that drive much of our behavior. And then we say, oh, that's why I'm not motivated or I'm behaving in that way. Let me shift it with this tool. And of course, our attitudes. Can I do this? Can I not? Having that growth mindset. This is hard and I can still learn a skill and do it. Body posture is everything. We want to get away from this where it's unconsciously sending signals to our brain that we don't have this, versus we're going to open up, we're going to spread our arms, we're going to get in some warrior postures and say, I've got this, I can do it. All right. And, when you move your body, you grow your mind. Our bodies love to move. 90% of the cells in our brain are coded for movement. So when we're sitting in our desks all day, no wonder we're getting the wiggle jiggles and we feel like we have to move. Of course we do. So we want to incorporate movement anytime we can. When I am working with students, we might look at content for 5 minutes and get up and move, do a yoga pose, do a dance jam filled with yoga poses, sit back down, deliver some more content. So as you learn to incorporate this into your own classroom, I know you're going to get more comfortable integrating this in a way where you're not feeling like you've got to deliver the content and then do the movement. It's more integrative. You're going to have more success that way. So it's going to help you focus, help your students focus. And with retention, remembering information. I do a lot of chants and call and response in class and with my students. And as I get them to remember, the brain and the heart can shift your mind to be smart. lots of different things that you can use. It doesn't really matter what the movement is as you're moving and you're saying. Can help your students remember that information you want them to remember on the content that you're trying to teach them. And that recall and integration, as I was talking about. So when you see them the next class and you're associating, maybe you're teaching geography or you're teaching a novel and you're thinking about a character. Let's go with geography. And you are teaching about a certain continent. And maybe in that continent, you're looking at a period of time where you're talking about warriors, and you can do a warrior pose, and then they think warrior, I'm going to put my body, and so warrior poses, always we have our arms up really strong. I'm going to show you one here in just a moment, and a few more slides, and then that will help our students retain and recall that information and integrate that into the very cells of their body. So when they get to the test or they get to whatever project, they think, oh yeah, I remember that because I moved to it. So just fun ways you can incorporate different yoga postures into your classroom. So applying yoga and mindfulness in your classroom, there are 3 main mind anchors that I always encourage educators to use. Using your breath, using your movement, yoga postures, and your affirmations, that positive self-talk. When and where? Well, morning circles, transitions, and closing circles. I talked about this on Mindful Check-ins and Spaces. Go watch that module. You can dive in a little more deeply there. I want to spend a little bit more time here talking about cross-curricular integration, because yoga and mindfulness can be embedded into all cross-curricular domains. I gave the example of geography. Maybe you're doing math, equations, or you're doing shapes and geometry, and there are geometric shapes you can do in yoga poses, and you can take a brain break as your brain is being saturated with all these abstract concepts, and it needs a moment to be still to put yourself into a yoga pose. It could be triangle, it could be a half moon shape, and we'll do some of these. Won't have a lot of time because again, these are really short recordings. So if you do want to dive in with me more with how to integrate this into your curriculum, then you can check out my separate training, Mindfulness Education University for Educators. And we dive very deeply into many different yoga postures. But cross-curricular integration is key, because no matter what content we have, we need a break. And we're going to have a break here in just a moment so we can move our bodies and learn some practical things. So let's do a practice. Yoga and mindfulness practices for the classroom. Counting breath is one of my favorites. Now, I left my breathing ball in my classroom. As I record this video, I'm in my little office space at home, but we're gonna improvise. So counting breath with a breathing ball is a Hoberman spear that is super helpful for students to visually see what's happening in the diaphragm as they take a mindful breath, because it's the inhale deeply, which we don't do normally. That would be weird if we were breathing deeply all the time. But we want to do it sometimes to refocus our attention and calm our emotions, is that our diaphragm is expanding as we take a deep inhale. And you can feel that right now if you put your hands on your belly and take a big breath in. And you can feel that, or even put your hand on your chest and one on your belly and slowly exhale out, and it contracts. So the Hoberman spear, as you open it up, it will replicate what's happening in the diaphragm as you inhale, opening up, right? Expanding, and as you exhale, contracting. And we can just do that right now. So you can take your fingertips together. We'll do 1 round, and then inhale 1, 2, 3, exhale 3, 2, and 1. You can also take your hand on to your heart space or to your belly and have students sit tall, both feet flat. You can close your eyes or look towards a focal point. And again, inhale 1, 2, 3, feeling your chest and belly expand. Exhale 3, 2, and 1. Awesome work. So that's a counting breath that you can do with a breathing ball if you would like to purchase one off Amazon. I improvise. You can also do this with students. It also feels good, gives them something to do with their hands. Or do the hand on the belly and the heart so they have that immediate connection to what's going on with their mindful breath into their body. Now, I want to show you a couple things to do in your chair. I talk about affirmations in the mindful check-in and spaces. Mindful sounds are another one of my favorites. I have mindful tools in my classroom. You can use chimes, bells. Mindful apps are really fun where you can get different nature sounds. Search on YouTube. You may already use some of these, doing mindful sounds with nature backdrops in the classroom. But I want to show a couple of yoga poses that you can do standing. So you're going to see me move my chair here in just a moment because we've been sitting for a while and I've been talking about how important movement is, and you don't need a yoga mat to do this. So I'm going to back up. I'm going to move my chair just over to the side for just a moment. There we go, so you can see me. One of the things we can do is stand tall and strong in something called standing mountain, and just inhale and reach your arms up. So you're putting yourself in that powerful position, interlacing your fingers just like this, and then exhaling all the way over to the right, just getting some space in your side body, and then inhale back to center, and then exhale to the other side. Just to stretch and let it out and come back to center. Now, once you do a really calm version of that, you can pull your kids in and say, all right, now we're gonna do we're gonna do like a crazy type dance jam. Pick your favorite song and you can just dance jam it out because they need that wacky movement, and then bring them back to a moment. Music comes off and say, okay, here we go. Deep breath in, arms up, and then exhale. I call this the banana. All right, or standing side bend. That's kind of boring, standing side bend. But stretch your body into a banana shape. It feels really good. And then come back to center. That's something we can do at any point of the day. Tree pose, another one of my favorites, because when we put ourselves into a balance pose, foot comes to the inner thigh. If this is too much, you can take it to the calf. I know you can't see, but I'm just placing it on my calf. Or if it's way too much there, you can just put the foot to the floor with the heel up onto the ankle. So you have a little bit more balance there, a little bit more base. And I love this one. You can do hands on heart for extra calming effect. Or if you'd like to boost your body posture, open the space in your heart and your mind, boost your confidence, take your arms up and take a big breath in through your nose. And then exhale slowly through your mouth. Now for an extra challenge, if your kids are ready for it, you can close your eyes just like I am. Big breath in. And you fall out, and it's so fun. And kids will say, I can't do it. And you try again. You're like, okay, let me try it. Can I do it with my eyes closed? Oh, look, I've got my eyes closed. I'm doing it. And then they can try it, or they fall out, or they stand still, and they can open their eyes looking at their focal point. Big breath in. And then exhale slowly out of your mouth, foot comes down, and then you'll do it on the opposite side. And that's a fun way just to incorporate some movement into your classroom. I can't show you all the things, of course, but I want to give you a couple things that you're going to walk away with after watching this module. Again, you can go pick up an affirmation on the other module, mindful check-in and spaces. And mindful apps are another great way to integrate this into your classroom. Ninja Focus is a great one for kids. My Life for Schools. Usually I like that one for older kids, for like 5th grade and up. Ninja Focus is a great one for like 5th grade and below. Headspace for kids. Class Dojo has some really great apps or applications on there for mindfulness practices. So many resources coming out, but you have a couple that you can use right now in your classroom, and a couple more resources that you can check out. You can read them all here. You can pause. Breathe for change, move mindfully, yoga for the classroom, Little Flower Yoga, mindfulness and yoga in schools by Catherine Cook, mindfulness in the classroom by James Butler, and the My Life Project. And of course, if you want to dive deeper into taking this into the classroom and dive deeper in it for yourself as an educator, you can check out Mindfulness Education University for Educators. It's a deep dive online program that I lead. All right, I hope that you took away some practical tips to bring in some mindful movement and breathing into your classroom space so you can reduce stress, increase focus, and build resilience.